Welcome to Based on True, where real stories reveal the hidden truths behind ordinary lives. If you appreciate authentic storytelling, feel free to subscribe and support the channel. In this story, we follow a man whose life was quietly torn apart by betrayal. What began as a simple marriage built on trust slowly unraveled into secrecy, deception, and emotional destruction. He thought he knew the woman he married. He thought loyalty was unbreakable. He thought love would be enough. He was wrong.
Daniel was 30 years old, living in the quiet city of Ashfield, Oregon. His wife, Claire, just 25, had been by his side for nearly 6 years. 3 of those as husband and wife. They had no kids, no property, just a rented home, and debts that outweighed their savings. Daniel worked tirelessly as the main provider, pulling in $4,000 a month, while Claire's part-time work added another $1,500. To the outside world, they seemed steady. But inside, Daniel carried a heavy weight. He felt he was giving everything, while Claire gave only what she pleased. A glimmer of escape came from his workplace. A colleague invited him to join a recreational soccer league. Daniel accepted, grateful for the camaraderie and a break from routine. Claire came too, attending nearly every game. At first, Daniel thought she was there to cheer him on. But as the matches went on, he noticed her real interest, the alcohol. While he drank carefully, sipping lightly, Claire often drank herself into loose laughter, staggering back into Daniel's car after the games. After matches, the group would meet at pizza places, bars, or even someone's house. Daniel didn't mind at first. It felt harmless. Until one night, 2 weeks before everything collapsed, the team planned to gather at Marcus's house, a guy Daniel had grown to trust and even call a friend. The place was an hour away in Riverside, and Daniel declined. He had an early shift the next morning, but Claire wasn't done for the night. On the drive home, with her phone glowing in her hand, she messaged Marcus directly. "Can you give me a ride to the party?" Then she turned to Daniel and asked if it was okay for her to go. He said no. He wanted her home. He wanted them together. What he got in return was silence, the kind only alcohol and resentment can brew. When they pulled into the driveway, headlights flashed. Marcus's car pulled up right behind them. Before Daniel could stop her, Claire stepped out of his car and into Marcus's. Daniel stood frozen, fury boiling under his skin. That night would ignite a chain of discoveries darker than he ever imagined. Betrayal rarely announces itself. Sometimes it waits, buried in a device you have forgotten, until one careless spark sets it ablaze. A week after that night, Daniel came across something that would destroy everything he thought he knew about his wife. Claire had an old iPad long forgotten in a drawer, its battery dead for months. One evening, out of boredom more than suspicion, Daniel plugged it in. When the screen finally flickered to life, he noticed something. Claire had never logged out of her accounts. At first, he tapped through casually. Messages, photos. Nothing alarming. But then he saw the name Marcus. What followed was not friendship. It was filth. Message after message. Explicit details spilled across the screen. Claire bragged to Marcus about the night she went home with him. Not only him, but another teammate as well. She did not just admit it. She described it with grotesque enthusiasm. The times, the places, even within the walls of the very house Daniel was paying for. His stomach lurched. The device slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor. He staggered into the bathroom and vomited until his body shook. Betrayal had a taste. It was bitter, burning his throat. When Claire came home that night, Daniel confronted her, his voice trembling but firm. "Claire, I know, I saw everything." At first she denied it, her eyes darting, lips forming quick excuses. But Daniel had proof. He shoved the iPad toward her, the screen glowing with her own words. Her mask cracked, tears spilled, and then she confessed not just to one drunken mistake, but to multiple nights, multiple partners, multiple betrayals. The man Daniel trusted as a friend, another teammate he had shared the field with, his own bed, their home. It was not just an affair, it was a mockery. The air in the room grew heavy. Claire, sobbing, tried to blame the alcohol, swearing it was not her. It was the drinking, the parties, the blurred nights. She begged Daniel to forgive, to forget, to see it as an illness rather than a choice. But Daniel could not unsee the words burned into his mind. He could not unhear her laughter as she typed them. That night, Claire packed her things and left, saying she would stay with her family for a while. Daniel sat alone in the quiet house, surrounded by walls that had betrayed him, by memories now poisoned. His marriage had not just cracked, it had shattered. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning of the nightmare. The morning after Claire left, silence filled the house. No clinking of coffee mugs, no careless humming from the kitchen, just an emptiness that pressed against Daniel's chest. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt something far more dangerous. Guilt. Was it my fault? Did I push her to this? Could I have done more? That is the fog of betrayal. It twists the knife so deep that the victim begins to wonder if they handed it over themselves. When Claire returned days later, she came armed not with apologies, but explanations. She said it was not her, it was the alcohol. The drinking had swallowed her judgment, blurred her boundaries, and dragged her into Marcus's arms. She swore she did not even remember some of the nights she described so vividly in her messages. Daniel sat across from her, fists clenched, listening to every word. Part of him wanted to believe her because belief meant hope, and hope meant maybe he did not have to throw his marriage into the fire. Claire promised everything: Alcoholics Anonymous, counseling, even couples therapy. She spoke of rebuilding, of fighting for them, her tears dripping onto the hardwood floor like shattered glass. But Daniel could not erase the images. He could not silence the echo of her words, typed with her own fingers, bragging about being with two men while her husband slept. So he made a quiet move of his own. He called an attorney. Sitting in that sterile office, papers spread across the desk. Daniel's world tilted. Divorce. A word he had never imagined would belong to him now hung in the air like a verdict. The lawyer asked questions, outlined options, and Daniel nodded numbly, the weight of responsibility pressing harder with each detail. Still, he left without making a final decision. He was not ready, not yet. Back home, Claire clung to him like a drowning woman. She spoke of therapy, of redemption, of being better. And though his gut screamed run, Daniel's heart hesitated. He still remembered the girl he had fallen in love with, the one who made him laugh on late-night drives, the one who whispered promises under starlit skies. Could that girl still exist beneath the wreckage? Or was she gone, buried under lies and liquor? Daniel did not know. All he knew was this: he was lost in the fog, and somewhere inside that haze, a decision was waiting for him, one that would change everything. The promise of rebuilding did not last long. While Claire scribbled meeting times into notebooks and spoke about sobriety, Daniel's trust had already died. He could not take her words at face value anymore. So quietly, he armed himself not with forgiveness, but with surveillance. Every password she forgot to change, every synced account she left exposed. Daniel followed her phone logs, her messages, her locations. If she thought her betrayal had blinded him, she was wrong. He was watching every second. Meanwhile, he continued meeting with attorneys in secret. Each time, the advice was the same: cut ties, protect yourself, move fast. Still, Daniel wavered. Part of him longed for closure, for a reason to believe the woman he had married could still be salvaged from the wreckage. Then came the therapy session. It was their first time sitting across from the counselor. A sterile office filled with muted colors and forced calm. Claire spoke first, spinning a tale of regret, of mistakes she could not undo but wanted desperately to repair. Her voice trembled, rehearsed yet convincing. Daniel listened. He let her words hang in the air, filling the room with their fragile hope, and then he cut through them with one sentence: I do not want to fix this. I want a divorce. The silence was suffocating. Claire's face crumbled, disbelief etched into every line. She begged the therapist to intervene, to remind Daniel of forgiveness, of second chances. But the therapist did not side with her. Instead, she turned to Daniel, nodded, and validated his choice. For the first time, Daniel felt something shift. Not freedom, not yet, but clarity. After that, therapy took a new form. Individual sessions. One-on-one time with someone who did not gaslight him, who did not twist his reality. He poured out his rage, his grief, his confusion. And though the pain did not vanish, the fog began to thin. Still, the nights were the hardest. When the house went quiet and the shadows stretched long, Daniel's mind betrayed him. He found himself scrolling through Claire's accounts again, dissecting her every move, searching for proof of what he already knew or had not stopped. The counselor told him healing would come with distance, but distance felt impossible. When betrayal lived in his bloodstream, he had drawn his line in the sand. He had said the word divorce out loud, but deep down, Daniel knew the battle was only beginning, because Claire was not done lying, and Daniel was not done watching. Daniel thought the worst had already happened, that once betrayal was exposed, it could not cut any deeper. He was wrong. One night, while scrolling through Claire's accounts, Daniel noticed something odd, a new icon, an app she had not used before. It was a secret texting platform designed for conversations that could disappear at the tap of a button. His stomach dropped, hands trembling. He worked his way in, bypassing her weak password resets, and there it was. The truth, raw and unfiltered. Claire had not stopped. She was still meeting Marcus. Not just once, not just slipping. This was deliberate, ongoing, even after the tears, the therapy sessions, the promises. Even after standing in front of him and swearing she wanted to save their marriage, her words to Marcus were not the slurred ramblings of a drunk woman. They were clear, intentional, hungry. Daniel felt his chest cave in. The fog of betrayal collapsed into a storm of rage, grief, and despair. It was not alcohol. It was not a mistake. It was her choice again and again. That night nearly ended him. Alone in the quiet of his bedroom, his mind raced in circles too fast to escape. The pain did not feel survivable anymore. The thought of ending it, ending everything, wrapped around him like a poisonous whisper. He gathered pills into his hand, staring at them with trembling fingers. He thought about silence, about escape, about finally being free of the ache. But fate intervened. His sister called, her voice breaking through the haze. She came over, saw the look in his eyes, and refused to leave until the danger had passed. The next morning, Daniel did something he had not done before. He surrendered control. He handed the iPad and the pills to a trusted coworker, someone who could keep them away from him. It was the only way to protect himself from himself. For the first time, Daniel realized betrayal was not just destroying his marriage, it was trying to destroy him, and if he did not fight back, it just might succeed. By now, Daniel had seen enough. Every message, every secret app, every lie layered on top of another. It all painted a picture he could no longer deny. Claire was not stumbling through mistakes. She was living a double life. So Daniel decided to play cold. When he confronted her again, he did not yell. He did not cry. He did not give her the satisfaction of seeing him break. Instead, he laid out the evidence in silence. The hidden messages, the rendezvous, the proof that she was still with Marcus even after swearing. She wanted to save their marriage then. He looked her in the eye and gave her a choice. You are not going to fight this divorce. If you do, I will show everyone what you have done. Every message, every detail, you will lose your family, you will lose your reputation. This stays clean or it gets dirty. Decide. The threat hung heavy in the air. Claire, pale and trembling, agreed, not because she felt remorse, but because she knew Daniel was not bluffing. For a moment, he felt power return to him, but it was a hollow kind of victory, because even as she promised cooperation, Daniel's tracking confirmed what he already knew. She was still slipping into Marcus's bed at night, still lying to her family, telling them she was attending AA meetings when she was really disappearing into the arms of another man. She wanted to have it both ways, to play the grieving wife fighting for redemption while living out her affair in the shadows. Daniel watched it all unfold night after night like a sick theater performance. He no longer felt shock, only disgust. What made it worse was how easily she lied to the people who loved her. Claire's family believed her stories. They pitied her struggle. They thought Daniel was cruel for not forgiving, but he knew the truth. He had the receipts, and every night he collected more, building a fortress of evidence around himself. This was not love anymore. This was war, and Daniel had already decided he was going to win. By now, Daniel knew reconciliation was a fantasy. Claire's tears, her promises, her therapy sessions, all of it was theater. Behind the curtain, she was still sneaking off to Marcus, still living her second life. So Daniel decided to stop reacting. Instead, he would play the long game. Quietly, he filed the divorce papers. No dramatic confrontation, no warnings, just a clean strike. Behind the scenes, he made sure her name was pulled from accounts, her access was cut off, her presence in his financial life erased step by step. Every move was calculated, every detail handled without her knowing. To Claire, it looked like Daniel was softening. He let her believe he was considering reconciliation. He let her think there was hope, that maybe her performance was working. In reality, he was setting the stage for her complete removal. Even her belongings were carefully packed and moved out. No shouting, no arguments, just erasure. But lies have a way of unraveling, especially when they are woven too carelessly. One night, a family member spotted Claire at a restaurant. She was not at an AA meeting. She was not at therapy. She was with Marcus, laughing, touching his arm, living the life she had sworn she had given up. Word spread, and when it got back to Daniel, the dam inside him cracked. Up until then, he had kept his emotions hidden, playing the part of the detached strategist. But that night, the pain came rushing back. He confronted her, anger spilling out. He called her out not just as a liar, but as someone who had tried to drag him through humiliation while pretending to heal. The act was over. The false reconciliation charade burned to ash. Claire, exposed, had no defense left. Her mask had slipped in front of family, and Daniel no longer had to keep quiet. The truth was bleeding out, and for once, it was not just him who saw it. The long game was working. The pieces were falling into place. But Daniel knew this was not the end. The real collapse was still coming. Once the truth leaked, the unraveling came fast. Claire no longer bothered hiding. She and Marcus began showing up together. Their affair no longer whispered but paraded. The secrecy that once cloaked her betrayals had rotted away, replaced with defiance. At first, Daniel braced for backlash. He expected people to judge him, to call him bitter, to accuse him of exaggerating. But when he finally opened up, when he laid out the screenshots, the messages, the endless lies, the tide turned. Friends, family, even people who had doubted him stood in his corner. The evidence was undeniable, and once they saw it, most chose Daniel's truth over Claire's performance. Claire, though, doubled down. She leaned into her new role, posting smiling photos with Marcus, pretending she was living some kind of fairy tale. On Valentine's Day, she went further, a public declaration of their love wrapped in pink hearts and hollow words. Daniel saw it scroll across his feed, and for the first time, it did not slice him open. It disgusted him, yes, but it also confirmed something he had been waiting to feel: detachment. By then, the divorce was nearly finished. The paperwork that once felt impossible now carried a sense of relief. When the final terms came through, Daniel held them in his hands like a verdict. No spousal support, no debts transferred, a clean break. Claire had lied, cheated, and humiliated him, but in the end, Daniel walked away free. She thought she had broken him, but all she had done was cut herself loose from the very life she once begged to keep. For the first time in months, Daniel looked around his empty house and did not feel hollow. He felt lighter. Still scarred, still healing, but lighter. The collapse of her lies was not just her downfall, it was his turning point. For a while, Daniel thought the storm had passed. The divorce was final. The evidence buried, the wounds beginning to scar over. Claire had Marcus, and Daniel had his freedom. Their paths seemed permanently split. Then the chaos returned. Months later, word reached Daniel through a cousin-in-law. Claire had remarried, not to Marcus, Not to someone she had built a real relationship with, but to a man from Tennessee. A man she had never even met in person until the day they got married. The news did not just surprise him, it stunned her entire circle, one reckless leap into another man's arms, as if vows were nothing more than costumes, to be tried on and discarded. Claire had always been impulsive, but this was something darker, a pattern of desperation wrapped in the illusion of love. Was not slowing down, she was not reflecting, she was sprinting into chaos with blindfolds on. Daniel sat with the news in silence. At first it rattled him, a fresh reminder of the woman he once thought he knew. But then it brought an odd kind of relief. She was gone. Completely gone. Not just from his life, but from his state. She had tied herself to a man in another world, leaving Oregon behind in exchange for a stranger's promises. Daniel realized he did not have to worry about her shadow lingering in his city, his neighborhood, his routine. She had carried her storm elsewhere, and for the first time, the distance felt like protection. What once devastated him now reassured him. She was not his problem anymore. She was someone else's disaster waiting to unfold. The chaos had returned, but this time, it was not his to carry. For months after the divorce, Daniel's life slowly began to stitch itself back together. The nights were not as heavy. The silence was not as suffocating. Some mornings, he even woke without the ache of remembering. But healing is not a straight line. Ghosts find their way back. One evening, scrolling aimlessly online, Daniel stumbled across a video. A gender revealed Claire's her new husband by her side, balloons, and confetti bursting in celebration. The clip was only seconds long, but it gutted him. It was not about her, not anymore. It was about the dream she had stolen from him. The dream of fatherhood, of building a family at 32, of sharing milestones that now belonged to someone else. For a moment, it was as if all the progress he had made collapsed into dust. But Daniel did not stay down. He let the grief wash over him. Then he stood again, because this was not his ending, it was hers. Yes, he still carried scars. Yes, some nights the betrayal still echoed. But more and more, he noticed something powerful, days passing without her crossing his mind. Hours filled with peace instead of suspicion. A life that, piece by piece, was becoming his own again. Daniel had been broken, humiliated, nearly destroyed, yet here he was, alive, breathing, moving forward, and for that he was grateful.
Thank you for watching this story. Betrayal does not always destroy people. Sometimes it reshapes them. Daniel did not choose this path, but he chose how to survive it. What about you? Do you believe trust can ever be rebuilt after this level of betrayal? Would you have handled it the same way he did or walked away sooner? I would really like to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy true relationship stories based on real human experience, feel free to subscribe and stay with us. More stories are coming soon on Based on True.